When children arrive in school, they know intuitively what we all know, that the most important person in their day will likely be their teacher.
And what'd they say? No. All right, keep working. Good job.
All right, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bussey.
All right, are we ready to get started today?
Ultimately, the most important factor in any student's education is the teacher that's in front of the classroom.
Effective teaching is absolutely crucial when it comes to student achievement. Research indicates that if a child has an effective teacher for 1 year, the good effects of that last well into the next year, sometimes the year after that. Conversely, if a child has a teacher who is not effective, the damage that's done lasts a good 3 years.
Yet we do not focus enough on developing and evaluating the people with the largest potential impact on our kids.
The evaluation systems were broken. I mean, we all know that, and that's true throughout the country. They were done with cursory, we used to call them drive-by evaluations. The principal would come by, or the assistant principal, for 5-10 minutes, take a look in the room, go away, write up something, put it in your box at the end of the year. We didn't have a system that can support teachers that need assistance and then filter out those that, perhaps shouldn't be teaching.
We know this approach is not serving the kids. And it doesn't work well for the teachers either. They don't get the support anyone needs to get better at their job.
Now, what I want you to do right now is to take one moment and think about what that means to you. You have the power to choose. The area that I taught in previously was a rural district in a rural area, whereas in New Haven, what I'm finding being now thrust into an urban community is very, very different.
So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a poem this morning.
Last year was my first year teaching, so I was so happy to have gotten a job. I was right out of college and excited and willing and ready to do anything. And then I came and it was not exactly how I expected it to be.
We have a fundamental belief that teachers want to be good teachers, and there's an intrinsic and internal motivation for them to be better at their craft. It's why they go into this work.
Garth Harries is Assistant Superintendent of New Haven Public Schools. David Ciccarella is President of New Haven Federation of Teachers. They are two of the leaders who have joined forces to pioneer school reform in their community.
I think that's going to be the teacher's concern is, you saw the lesson, it wasn't great, that's my instructional manager, it's not supposed to be in my evaluation, how do I know it's not?
Both men understood that in order to be successful, a new system would need to address what teachers face every day. They are on the front lines of an achievement gap for low-income students. And we need our best teachers in our neediest schools.
Many of our students come from high poverty situations. Many of our students have difficult home situations, difficult neighborhood situations. In an urban context like this, good teaching is particularly important.
We have not broken the relationship between poverty and low achievement. Children who are poor come to school with about 1/3 of the verbal vocabulary that children who do not live in poverty have. So you need effective teachers to be able to make up for that gap that exists the day the children come into the school district.
At the centerpiece of this New Haven reform is a promising new model for teacher development and evaluation, now in its second year.
Very early on, we got into deep discussions with our teachers' union about how to encourage good teaching and really how to encourage the development of teachers.
Theirs is actually an uncommon alliance.
It is pretty unique to have that type of collaboration between the union president, the mayor, and superintendent, where you have the buy-in from the teachers and the administrators as well. And that's difficult because if you think about school boards, union presidents, mayors, superintendents, we gather power as we go along the way, and we don't like to share it usually. I very much wanted to come here to do something different.
They met for a year in working groups. They grappled with thorny issues and came to respect each other's concerns.
We took the fundamental perspective that teachers are professionals, and the teacher evaluation is not something that is just about a gotcha game to identify bad teachers and punish them. It is about developing all teachers.
The teacher has to be effective. So the goal of the evaluation system is to have, at the end of the day, an effective teacher in each and every classroom.
How can we explain our thinking? Why would the pig do that? What do we know? Why would he do that? Cherish.
The result of this unique collaboration is that teachers are now engaged in an entire process for the ongoing development of their skills and an ultimate evaluation of their proficiency.
Part of the problem we've always had is the evaluation systems where you were either satisfactory or you were unsatisfactory. Here in New Haven, our ranking system goes from needs improvement all the way up to exemplary.
So do we restate the question?
Yes.
Okay. Did we answer the question?
Yes.
All right. So now we have to go to the citing. So some of you gave me some examples. At the beginning of the year, we were told that we would be evaluated in this new evaluation system. So in the end of October, I was called to the principal's office to be told that I was in the needs improvement category.
What was the gift that the stranger gives the man? It was surprising to me that coming to a new place that I would receive a need improvements rating. So I had to kind of calm myself down as a professional and think of it with an open mind and look at it as an opportunity versus a setback.
At the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, all teachers are observed in class by their supervisor, who rates the teacher on a scale of 1 to 5, from needs improvement to exemplary.
Our teacher evaluation system is built around a core identification of instructional practices, planning, classroom practice, reflection, making sure that instruction is purposeful, that it's supportive, and that it's meaningful. And that's an architecture that we've used in New Haven to define good teaching. But ultimately, it's about what does that teaching produce.
The evidence would be the author tells me. I was told classroom environment and lesson planning. Those were my two biggest areas of growth that I needed to explore and figure out how to improve.
The thing that I needed to work on was my classroom management. I wasn't prepared for students not wanting to learn, or what do you do with a student who is reading at the kindergarten level when you're teaching 4th grade. So now we're gonna go back to our desks and we're going to work on the race strategy by ourselves independently, okay? We're gonna
The
go
system is designed to help all teachers grow in their craft, including those who were evaluated as at the top of the 1 to 5 scale.
It's really important that we identify teachers that are effective or strong. I mean, they can be helped to move to the next level as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm passing out copies of the 21st century rubrics. We're going to use them today to decide how we're going to grade our project.
New Haven High School teacher Justin Boucher received an exemplary rating this year.
Part of the legitimacy of the program is if you're a 5, if you're the top end of the spectrum, you're still expected to set ambitious goals and meet them. And there's not a rubber stamp that says you're a good teacher this year, so you'll be a good teacher next year and a good teacher the year after.
But this one does not have currently beginning by.
Just put it there and I will put the sign up, okay? Give me your books. I will check you out.
In the New Haven experiment, one person is assigned to each teacher in order to guide them through the process of improving their craft. Oftentimes, that instructional manager is the school's principal. This kind of innovative and hands-on leadership at both the district and school level is vital.
One of the things that focusing on teacher evaluation and development does for us is also make us realize we need to focus on development and evaluation of our leaders. That the instructional managers that work with these teachers, their ability to coach adults, to identify good teaching practices, to identify development opportunities for teachers, that is just as important as the teacher development aspect. Good leadership, we believe, is fundamental to a good school system.
Remember, we talked about setting more aggressive goals this year.
Definitely.
So looking at some of our kids.
The process has significantly changed my view of how I must operate as a school leader. It is definitely dependent upon a presence in classrooms to observe what teachers are doing. being able to have those open conversations with people about the areas of their performance that were lacking, build up those areas where they were performing well, but then at the same time really being able to motivate them to be a higher performing teacher.
Through the evaluation process, we have to make goals for ourselves, but really they're goals for the students and the student work. It's really asking, what can I expect of my students and how am I going to get them to do this work?
Why did the little red hen say no to the cat, dog, and mouse when they said they would help eat the cake? I will give you about 5 minutes to answer this so that you have time to write full, complete sentences, and I'll come around if you need help.
Principals and other instructional managers help teachers find the right tools for their growth. Sometimes that includes workshops. Often it means frequent classroom visits from other leaders and educators to give immediate and concrete feedback.
The kids are doing very well with that because it's very laid out. They know exactly what
I got support from everyone.
How are you going to restate it? Go ahead.
1974 is...
And today.
In between today.
Okay, so the thing that changed...
So as the year went on, my confidence grew and I found myself feeling very comfortable asking for help when I needed to.
We're gonna continue working on the C and the E because I can see how that is a little difficult for some of you and I wanna make sure that you understand it.
I learned a lot about repeating and just telling with my expectations of the students, and I got a lot of help with just becoming more confident in myself.
I saw my practices changing greatly over the course of this time. I want you to look at the picture and decide in your mind what's going on. And then when someone else gives their answer, you are going to respond to them. And how you're going to respond to them is, I heard you say, this is what I think, okay? Who'd like to start? One of the basic goals for the planning piece was to utilize what we call a workshop model. It fosters their critical thinking. It keeps them talking to each other, keeps them engaged with me, it keeps them engaged with themselves, so they're constantly accountable for the information they have to learn.
I not only need to do great lessons, but I need to do great lessons that lead me to this ultimate point. We assume that things are continuous, even though we can't necessarily see that they are continuous. That line's a pretty bad example. Here's a better example, okay? My arm, you now can't see a part of my arm, right? But you still assume that this is one arm, even though you don't have all that information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes more sense than that.
And just like with teachers in need of improvement, the exemplary educators benefit from meeting with an instructional manager to set goals for their students.
So this year, instead of working on the average of the whole class, I'm going to work on the average of my lowest performing students. It's a little ambitious, but I'm going for 20 points of average growth amongst those students.
Okay. I mean, I agree with you that I think your AP government, the 20 points, is definitely going to be challenging for you. I'm curious to see some of the strategies you plan to use.
Okay, so the other piece that we need to give just as much attention to.
We work a lot with data and really looking at the numbers and finding out what the students specifically need and what the classroom as a whole needs.
So this was your LA DCMT data.
Okay.
From September.
Okay.
So while you've taken a look at how teachers are teaching, how are students learning? Are they learning? Is the data showing that they are improving and making gains?
The next part of our conference is moving into your teacher professional development plan.
Teachers who are identified as in needs of improvement need to get themselves better, and with our support within 1 year.
It was definitely a high-stakes process for teachers in terms of their ultimate livelihood, their ultimate ability to be employed was a bit at question.
The responsibility for developing great teachers does not fall just on the individual teachers or their school districts. Typically, training teachers is the job of teacher colleges, and change needs to be made in that area as well.
There's a disconnect between the preparation and what the students really face when they get out into, the real world. They don't have the tools to do the job that we're asking them to do.
Our schools of ed across the state really play a vital role in producing the next generation of teachers, and I think it's really important to start to reconceptualize the relationships between institutions of higher education and school districts so that they are more mutually enriching, so that we work more closely together in the best interests of K-12 students across the state of Connecticut.
In my mind, what's broken is that we don't have, between the K-12 system and the universities, a system of communication in place. We don't communicate expectations upward, and they don't communicate expectations and results downward. And so our teachers come to us and they sort of become overwhelmed.
You know, if 99% of your graduates are passing state certification, and yet they're not coming to the schools with the skills that they need to be successful, the programs will need to change.
It's difficult to change things at the university level in an education program. If you're an expert in, say, reading, and there aren't enough reading courses that are running in the following semester, you can teach almost anything that's open. That lends itself to creating problems where we are having students fulfill their credit requirements, but the teacher who's teaching that course may not be an expert in that field.
The university personnel, their professors, need to be in public school settings so that they understand firsthand the classrooms that these kids are walking into. Secondly, the students who are in teacher preparation programs around the state need to be in public school classrooms, not in their senior year for student teaching, but they need to start in their freshman year.
For Jason Irizarry, a professor at the University of Connecticut, the problem extends beyond simply a lack of preparation.
We look at the demographics of teacher ed programs in our state and then across the country. They don't necessarily reflect the demographics of our K-12 schools. The research is pretty clear about the benefits around having a more diverse teaching force. We know that these folks are more likely to work in what have been termed as hard-to-staff schools, and they're more likely to stay there longer. And so how do we get more folks from those communities, more folks of color, into our teacher education programs across the state?
Closing the achievement gap in Connecticut is not the search for a silver bullet. It's going to require a whole different level of communication between the State Department of Ed, the university system, and the school districts.
Once teachers have the tools to do their jobs, the evaluation system that New Haven has pioneered seems all the more credible.
Now, we have an evaluation system that we helped create. The person was notified in a timely manner, given ample opportunity to improve with good supports in place. At the end of the year, if there isn't any improvement, I mean, it's just not reasonable for us to say we want to keep the teacher in the classroom. So if they want to move on a tenured teacher under those circumstances, I mean, we feel that's more than fair. We are responsible for our actions.
This holds true no matter how long someone has been teaching.
When there is a layoff decision that has to be made, the first people that should be laid off are those who are deemed ineffective.
We've built our teacher evaluation system so that tenure is not a barrier. And the power of that is to say that we're going to treat teachers the same post-tenure as we are pre-tenure. And we think that's important. And we need teachers to continue to improve throughout their career.
There's an investment in the teacher as a career teacher, as opposed to an investment in that year. So seniority still exists and it still matters, but we now have a legitimate way of sidestepping seniority if you're bad enough at your job that you shouldn't be teaching students. It supports teachers in the way that it needs to support teachers. It asks a reasonable amount of change from teachers, and if someone's going to be fired, they're going to be fired in the fairest way I've ever heard of.
Everybody is being held accountable, and I think that that's fair. It shouldn't matter how long you've been teaching or where you taught or who you know. It's about what's going on in the room and what's going on with the students.
Just Katri?
Yeah.
After a year of being observed and offered resources to grow, 34 out of the 75 teachers deemed in need of improvement did not advance and left the district. That is 41% resigned or retired rather than be fired. And 15 of the teachers who left the New Haven district were tenured.
At the end of the year, I met with the instructional manager, and I was able to increase from a 1, which meant needed improvement, to a 3, which meant proficient.
Were we able to answer an open-ended question today using this strategy? Complete? Do we answer it completely? Let's check in on our target. Did we do it?
For the end of the year meeting, I was told that I had moved up to a 3.
Throughout the year, you could see their confidence levels building. And by the end of the year, they had very clearly moved out of that needs improvement category and have come back this year just very solid.
The evaluation process really makes me a reflective teacher and really thinking about the work that you're doing in the classroom. And so it really keeps me on task.
Raise your hand and tell me if it feels good to have all of this answer, like more than just one sentence answer. Does it, tell me, Jaden, does it make you feel good?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you feeling like, Adrian, are you feeling like you're writing more than you did before?
Yes.
Yes. Marlon, do you feel like you can do this? Yeah.
Other questions before we take the quiz? Harrison.
In the review test, I have trouble understanding number 10. I thought that would be due to C, the law of provenance, but it said it was due to E, the law of similarity.
This year, I'm trying to do better than last year in quantifiable ways. I know what direction I'm heading in. I have like a North Star now.